basically what heat maps do is they allow you to see different interaction areas in hot and cold zones. So for example, in this very first item here, this image we have here is an example of the scroll heat map, where we can see about how far down the page someone scrolls before they leave the site, with the areas where they scroll the most being red hot or orange or even yellow, and areas where there is little scrolling, they don't scroll past that point typically, being shown as blue or even gray. They're cold. The one next to an example of this one's actually a movement heat map, so it shows where someone's mouse is moving on the page, where their mouse kind of hovers. And if there's a little bit of engagement, it might be blue. If there's a lot of engagement, there's red. And again, burns red hot when there's lots of engagement going on. We also see that with clicks and things like that. If there's lots of clicks, we can do a heat map of that and showing where on the page that they're clicking. So a really awesome tool, a great way to see how people are using your site. And again, there's free options out there. Just a good thing to always have running on your site. A great way to gather data. So if we see people clicking on things that aren't clickable, well, they're clicking there. We can see that with the heat map, but we know from the way that the site is set up that that doesn't do anything. That's just wasting their time, or they're trying to click something that doesn't work. It could be a sign that we need to refresh the look of that page, or even look at the structure of that page to find out why they're clicking there and what they're trying to do. If we see lots of scroll drop off, so if you see here on this first heat map image, we see that it sort of fades off and this whole bottom area of the page is in sort of a gray, dark color. That means people typically aren't scrolling that far down the page when they visit the site. Well, is that okay? Is there something really important down there that we need them to see? That could be a sign that we need to relook at the layout of that page, and there might be some optimization that can be made through a redesign. And then the final thing, kind of similar to scroll drop off, is unexplored content. If there's some big calls to action on the page and we can see no one's clicking on it, no one's hovering their mouse over it, no one's reading a certain paragraph of text, that could be a sign that there needs to be some optimization made, that why we want to look into why they're not exploring that content and what that content being unexplored really means. And finally, the one that I think is the biggest tell is something called rage clicks or erratic movement. This is when somebody frantically is clicking on something, trying to get it to work, and it's not doing anything. Or they're moving their mouse wildly along the page. Usually with these tools, we can get sort of recordings of these engagement moments as well. And that's a clear sign of frustration, that someone is struggling to use your site, that they're trying to make something happen and it's just not working. That's, for me, the biggest red flag that you can get from a heat map of, all right, something's going on here. They're clearly frustrated. Let's take a closer look at what's happening.